Hey guys, now we're going to start with the campaign today. Because, to be honest, I've been really loving this game. Just because it's really creative, and this, even though a lot of the pathing and tools are a bit difficult to use, it just takes a bit of a learning curve and it needs to be improved. But other than that, like the animals respond great. The animals each have personality and they have names. It's really beautiful. So now we're going to go to career. Whoop. We're going to start a new one. Just see how everyone's going. Starting at career, Goodwin House. Renovated and renamed after its purchase by Bernard Goodwin in the 1980s, Goodwin House has since become one of the most respected zoos in the country. More recently has undergone a further renovation to update many of the habitats and facilities, but due to various issues, the work hasn't been quite done. That's where I come in. Isn't that epic? Now it's time to go to start new. We're going to do it over again. And then we're going to record it and put it on YouTube. Just keep it on here too. Okay, so now what I'll do is make sure this records on Twitch as well.
Ah, heyo at Hematu. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I have a habit of slipping back into the Planko language. It's good to finally meet you in person. I'm Bernard, although I insist you call me Bernie. The only person who calls me Bernard is my wife. And even then, only when I've tracked elephant dung into the carpets.
Oh no.
As you know, I own several zoos, but I always like to show people the ropes here at my home.
Oh.
This is the first zoo I ever opened, and a source of great pride for me. And prides, thanks to a lion breeding program we ran in the 80s. But we're in the middle of a big renovation, and that's where you come in. Sadly, our old contractor had to retire after developing a fur allergy. Poor devil kept sneezing his dentures into the lion habitat. So, it's up to you to finish everything off.
All the animals look beautiful.
Don't worry, though. I'm not completely throwing you in at the deep end. My head keeper, Nancy Jones, will be lending a helping hand. Oh, she's a hard worker, and she'll expect you to be too. But I'm sure you'll get along like a house on fire, or even better, one that isn't on fire. Less shouting that way.
Hello there. From that rosy, fresh face of yours, I'm guessing you're Bernie's new hire. Good. Now, I hope you're ready to ditch your diploma because we're about to get really hands-on. But before we begin the real work, how about we familiarize you with the zoo by learning how to fly around it and visiting some of our beautiful animals? We'll start by popping over and having a look-see at the grizzly bears in their habitat.
This bit is accent. Okay, let's head over to the grizzlies. We all know how this works. Look at the zoo. There's the elephants here, wolves, lions. We're gonna put some ostriches in there. We're gonna put some tigers in there, snow leopards, giraffes and zebras, and last but not least the grizzlies. I'm with you.
Did you know that grizzly bears, also known as Ursus arctos horribilis, can hibernate for up to 7 months
Zachary,
a year?
big male bear.
Oh, but then again, given the chance, I think a
It's a
lot
bit
of
of a
people
unit, ain't
would
he?
do that too. Select one of the bears and you'll bring up its information panel.
It's a bit of a unit, ain't he? Look at that. Zachary.
See now, this is a fantastic way to get a close look at your animals. You can also get this view of an animal by simply double-clicking on it. Okay, when you're ready, let's pop over to the other side of the zoo and take a look at the lions. I've marked their location for you to
Let's
find.
give them a toy, just to help bring that enrichment up a little bit. I don't think we can at the moment. They want us to get the tutorial done. Okay, let's go. The West African lion. Surprisingly, this species is not often found in captivity. I think it's just because it's endangered subpopulation.
Panthera leo, or the West African lion to you and me. Lions are the most social of the big
beautiful.
cats, and there can be as many as 40 lions in a pride, although prides of that size are pretty rare. As Bernie would say, those lions are awesome, which is precisely why I handle the training instead these days.
Nothing
Anyway,
wrong with a good
how
pun.
about we get started on those objectives? Come on, let's head over to our warthog habitat and see what needs doing there.
Look at this beautiful lion. Roar. I think they improved the face because there was a bit of controversy about the face looking a bit wide, but it looks a lot better now. The animation's just incredible. How they respond to the terrain. And you're beautiful. I'll have a look at the cub too. Where is the cub? Here it is. Well, cute little baby. Do we all agree that it's quite cute? Wow. Actually doing pretty well. I'm running 30 frames, but it's a beta, so you gotta excuse some of the performance stuff. It's a pretty high rating. Let's see what's this appetite. Plant coverage is a little too much. But other than that, they seem fine. I think it's cool is that each of them all add up into their welfare. So you can still have, they don't all need to be filled 100%. Which means you still have some freedom with designing enclosures. So you don't need X amount of this, B amount of that. It's more, you just need a certain amount. So that there's a little too much rock and a little bit, the rest are fine. There's a little bit too much plants, but in terms of welfare, they're all doing okay. They're all happy enough. Which helps keep the creativity. Now let's head off with the warthogs.
As you can see, it's a lovely space for warthogs, but it's missing a certain something. Well, two somethings. The
Two
warthogs. So I'd like you to adopt a pair of them. To adopt animals, we need to open the animal market, which is in the animal trading section.
Okay, done that.
There we are, a pair of perfectly splendid warthogs for our zoo. Just click on them and select Buy from the side menu. Normally the animal exchange would be full of animals, but I've emptied out the market while you learn how it works. The last thing I need is you accidentally ordering a dozen elephants.
Nothing wrong with dozen elephants.
When you adopt an animal, it's automatically placed in the trade centre, where they're held until you're ready to move them into their habitat, which, as it happens, you are. So how about you move them into their new home?
Already done that. Let's have a look at the water.
When you ask for an animal to be
I'll wait
moved
for you to
into a
finish.
habitat, your caretakers will go to the trade centre, collect your animal and deliver them to your selected habitat. I've marked the trade centre's location, so let's go and watch the caretakers in action.
The biggest difference with this and Planet Coaster is that the water's volumetric, so it's simulated now, so animals can swim and have a play. Let's just see what's moving in here. I don't think the warthogs are in here yet. Just have to go to the trade center.
Well, as you can see, those caretakers don't hang about. They'll move those animals to their destination as fast as possible. Of course, normally we'd have to place the animals into quarantine before moving them into a habitat.
Of
But
course.
I am assured by a person of good standing that these warthogs are in the very rudest of health. Right, let's get the warthog's habitat finished up so we can keep them nice and happy. You see, each animal in the zoo has an overall welfare statistic, basically how happy they are. And that overall welfare statistic is itself comprised of 4 different areas: nutrition, social health, habitat, and enrichment. Luckily, if you select an animal, you'll bring up their animal welfare information panel, which we saw earlier, where you can see how they're doing. That way, you'll know exactly what areas need to be addressed. Don't worry if that's a lot to remember. You can always check the Zoopedia for more information.
So look, he's hungry and thirsty now.
Let's start by making sure we're taking care of the warthog's nutrition welfare. To do this, we'll need to place a food station and a drinking station. Now, each animal requires a different type of feeding station. And for the warthogs, it's a small feeding trough. So let's add one of those and a water bowl.
I think you're fine. No, just need to keep it, can't fill it up.
Animals also require stimulation to keep them happy. Let's add a lovely mud bath for the warthogs to roll around in. That bath will count towards their enrichment welfare, specifically their toy enrichment welfare.
I think they need to make a smaller version of this for these
Oh,
habitats.
nice work. You've got a knack for this, I see. Now, our contractor had to leave in a hurry, so this place is in a fair old state. Unfinished thingamajigs and whatsits all over the shop. But the first thing we need to finish is the ostrich habitat. It's over near the hippos.
We'll take a break there. But I think there needs to be a smaller version of this for smaller habitats. Like, this is probably way too big, your wood mollo, for a smaller habitat like this. Be nice to have like a big version for our hippos, like this one, and then a smaller version for our little warthogs here, which I think look pretty beautiful. I like the procedural animation. They really do feel alive. Have a sniff and then have a walk about. Feels like someone's home. I really like that. Okay, now we're going to go to the ostriches. Our lovely old ostriches. We're gonna build the habitat.
Okay, job number 1 here is to add a habitat gate before we complete the barrier. Every habitat needs a habitat gate. After all, how else would the keepers get in and out? Just make sure it's hooked up to the path so the keepers can reach it. Right, let's complete the perimeter barrier so we can adopt us some ostriches. I've marked out an area for you to use, so I'd like you to finish off the perimeter using the brick barrier.
Okay, now we're gonna make this nice and tight. I think it could be a little bit more intuitive, but that's how it is.
Good work! Remember, before you can place animals in any habitat, it has to have a full loop of connected barrier. Now, you've probably noticed that guests can't actually see into this habitat at the moment. At least not without a stepladder. But seeing as they're banned, I'd like you to select a piece of barrier and swap out the brick for a glass barrier, so the guests can see in.
Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna select all these. We're gonna make that all viewing. So you can come around here and be like, oh, look at the little ostriches.
There we go. Adding in more windows gives guests even more opportunities to see the animals in a habitat. It's always best to make sure the guests can get a good view into a habitat from the path they're walking on, because it makes them happy, and because this would be a pretty terrible zoo if they couldn't.
Yeah, it would be.
The last thing we need to do is to add a donation box. You see, when guests enjoy the view of an animal, they'll make a donation. Just make sure you put them in easy-to-reach places, like near a viewing point. Donation boxes are one of the main sources of income for the zoo, so make sure you remember them.
Let me go back and fix them. I'm gonna grab some ostriches.
All right, you've finished the habitat, so it's high time we adopted those ostriches, don't you think? Let's get 4 of them in here.
Even trade center. But Rumby, Kisha, Sashamiska. I don't know how to speak a lot of these African names. Maliawa. How do you say it?
While we wait for them to be collected by the caretakers and brought to the habitat, you should get it ready for them. Add a suitable feeding station, water station, and an appropriate food enrichment item. It's often best to place things like enrichments and feeding stations near to the habitat perimeter so guests can get a really good view of the animals.
Put that over here. Ooh.
Oh, good to see the ostriches have somewhere they can really stretch their legs. Did you know they can actually run at 43 miles per hour? Oh, heaven forbid they ever escape. The speed camera fines alone would bankrupt us.
Oof. This is called like the underwater viewing. Look at that.
Well, Bernie certainly seems impressed. Did he do his speed camera joke? Every time we get an ostrich. So, now we've made the ostriches' lives a bit better, let's do the same for the keepers, shall we? To make it easier for the keepers to feed the ostriches and hippos, we should build a new keeper hut. Keeper huts are where the keepers prepare the food for animals, so they should be placed near to the habitats to make sure the keepers don't waste their time walking when they should be looking after the animals.
I'm gonna place that down here.
This keeper hut only has space for one keeper, but the larger keeper hut can allow multiple keepers to prepare food at the same time.
Good.
Oh, but bear in mind that keeper huts and other staff facilities shouldn't be placed near to areas where there are lots of guests. Guests don't like seeing facility buildings, and it can affect their happiness
Damn.
negatively. In case that wasn't clear. Something that all facilities, shops, and a whole host of other objects need is power. And that obviously includes your newly built keeper hut. So let's place a transformer next to it, shall we?
But I thought people liked going to zoos. and
Now,
seeing
the
how to
reason
take care of
everything has gone
animals.
blue is because you're using the power heat map. This map allows you to see what is and what isn't powered in your zoo. So once you've placed your transformer, you can click in the bottom left to turn the heat map off. Lovely work. Now the keepers can start using the hut to prepare food, and thanks to where you've put it, they won't need to walk very far to deliver it to the ostriches and hippos. Let's get on to your next objective then. Bengal tigers. We want to adopt some, but I'm afraid there's nothing ready for them yet. Head on over to the plot of land I've marked out. It's not too far away. Righty, your next job is to build a habitat. From scratch. And wood and concrete, I expect.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead and build it. And don't forget the habitat gate. It's always best to place the habitat gate close to the keeper hut. As it happens, there's one quite near to the trade centre. Oh, and make sure the guests will be able to see the tigers.
Okay, now. Edit the barrier, deleted it. That looks pretty good. I think we'll need to add some glass though. I think we'll add it in this side and that side. We'll put that all convert that into glass. What she needs to do? Need to add a habitat gap now.
Now, Bernie takes safety very seriously at his zoos, so we should probably make sure those tigers can't jump out of their habitat, don't you think?
Yep.
The way we'll do it is by changing the height of the habitat's barrier. Okay then, you should start by double-clicking the habitat barrier, which will take you into barrier editing mode. Great, now highlight the entire perimeter of the habitat. You can do that by clicking and dragging the barrier selection tool. Now you've got all of the perimeter selected, you can increase the height of it by clicking and dragging the barrier height tool upwards. You'll want to make sure it reaches a minimum height of 4 meters.
Only about 5 there.
Okay, that's the habitat boundary complete, the habitat gate in place, and most importantly, the tigers won't be able to jump out of it anymore. I think it's time we adopted those tigers.
Bit costly, yeah, 5 million. To be fair, probably won't be that much.
Whilst our trusty caretakers collect and deliver the tigers, let's take a look at preparing the habitat for their arrival. We'll start with the basics. Add a suitable feeding station for them.
Let's make some food.
This time, instead of adding a water bowl, let's try something different. Some animals need a pool in their habitat so they can go for a swim, but they can also use it to drink from. All you have to do is make sure the banks of the pool have a gentle slope so they can easily get a nice, refreshing drink. There's already a pool excavated, but you still need to fill it with water. You should do that by going into Terrain and selecting the water tool.
There we are. Easy. Easy peasy. Look at this.
Yes, that'll do nicely. Of course, just like the warthogs and ostriches, these tigers will also need some enrichment. Why don't you add some suitable toy and food enrichment items into their habitat?
Sure. Frozen blood pumpkin. Well, this is actually often in real zoos. They'll often give animals like blood or fruit icicles, especially to help them keep them cool in the heat. And also these.
Okay, it's really starting to take shape. Now, the tigers will need a shelter in their habitat so they can hide from the guests, or more likely the bad weather. Although given that we're in England, you might want to think of that just as normal weather. Go on, add a shelter to their habitat. You can either build one from various suitable bits and bobs, or if you like, just pop down the blueprint that I've already built for you.
I'll just pop that down.
Oh, poor Dabs. I'm sure it can't have escaped your attention that the tigers look a bit miffed. That's because they aren't too keen on the type of terrain in their habitat. Select a tiger and bring up its information panel.
See how they're doing. Oh,
Rightio. Click on the Terrain tab. That way you can view the terrain information and see how they feel about the different types of terrain.
Soil.
That'll tell you what the tigers need more of or less of in this habitat. Okay then, open the Terrain Editing tool, select Painting, and give them some more soil. Yes, that should help with the habitat part of their welfare.
Oh yeah, looks perfect.
Right then, all animals need plants and trees from their own biome or continent. You know, deserts, savannas, or Asia, Europe, that sort of thing. It looks like these tigers need a few more plants in their habitat. To get a perfect fit, use plants from the rainforest and temperate biomes that are native to Asia. Although if you have to, you can get away with using just one or the other. The tigers will also want a certain amount of their habitat to be covered by those plants. To find out which plants to use and how many, select a tiger and go to the Environment tab.
Go tropical Asia. Asia. Tropical. So these are plants that they'll like. They will accept other tropical plants or other Asian plants, but this is the stuff that really helps them.
Now, as you can see, some of the plants currently in the habitat aren't quite right for the tiger, like the wattle bushes. You can remove them if you want.
I've already done that. But you to
You
it.
can find all of the plants you need in the nature section, and you can use the filters to only show the types of plants you want to see. In this case, that's plants from the rainforest or temperate biomes.
Well, that one's a little bit crooked, but that's alright. A couple more palm trees in here. There we are.
They say the good fences make good neighbors. I guess that's doubly true when one of the neighbors is a Bengal tiger. Still, those tigers look so happy that I doubt they'd leave.
I think they
Even
look
if you
cute.
did poke a hole in their fence. Oh, but for heaven's sake, don't test that theory.
Right, let's head over to the Indian peafowls. I've been told that we need to improve their social welfare.
Thing is with the tigers and a lot of the animals with complex patterning is that you get no two animals exactly the same just because it's randomized. So you get two tigers, like even you can notice the difference between these two. So these two don't look exactly the same, which is pretty cool. Really helps with the individuality. Plus the different sizes, different patterns. And plus that'll mix into their children, so if you have a adult that's like, so the chicks, you have one that's a good size and another that's a good size, it'll either make them bigger or smaller. These guys look pretty healthy. Okay, now we'll hand over to the peafowls. There's some peafowl.
Now then, just find one of the peafowls and select them to open their information panel. Then we can have a good gander at how they're doing. Although technically, I suppose gandering would just be for geese.
Yeah, of course.
Expand their social welfare, and we can get a bit more detail.
Expand.
Now, they've clearly got plenty of space, and they're not stressed, but it looks like their social group isn't quite right. So let's find out more. Click on the social tab at the top of their information
be right
panel
back.
to see what's wrong.
I'll be right back. Sorry about that, I just had to put my little dragon back. Sort that out. Okay, resume. We need to adopt 3 more peafowl. Adopt 3 new Indian peafowl. Social tab.
Right, as you can see, the peafowls need their population to be larger. To solve this little problem, you'll need to adopt 3 more female peafowls. Well, off you pop to the animal market.
$30. Animal trading. Send them here.
Good work on those peafowls. I expect they'll be delivered soon. But sadly, it sounds like our snow leopard is a bit grumpy. Let's head over there and see what's wrong with her.
Snow leopard, oh no.
Just like people,
Look
animals
at
can
you.
suffer from stress if things aren't quite right. You know, like when you see someone put in the milk before the tea bag.
Oh no.
In the case of these snow leopards, they're a bit stressed by their lack of privacy. You can lower their stress levels by swapping out the normal glass barriers for one-way glass. It's not a cheap option, but I think they're worth the expense, don't you? This will give the snow leopards somewhere to go when they want to get away from the prying eyes of the guests.
It'll be no problem.
Of course, when an animal isn't in its natural biome, it's probably going to be too hot or too cold. Unsurprisingly for the snow leopards, it's too hot. Even with the terrible British weather, you should help cool it down by adding some coolers to their habitat. But let's start by opening up the temperature heat map and having a look-see at the temperature in the leopard's habitat.
You got one there. But it's
As
too
you can see, we already have one cooler in there. Let's pop some more down and get as much of the habitat as chilly as we can. Luckily for us, this habitat already has power, but you'll need to make sure of that in the future. Just so you know, if any part of a habitat is powered, then the whole habitat will be powered.
What are you doing?
You can find
Oh, you're
heat
pooping.
maps for all sorts of helpful things, so do be sure to explore them and make good use of them.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the heat maps.
It'll take a little while for the temperature to adjust once you've added coolers or heaters, but now we've got the coolers in, we can address the leopard's terrain welfare. You see, what the leopards really want in here is snow and rock, so let's make that happen.
Animal welfare. Temperature, water. Everyone's got clean water. Power, we've got a nice amount of power. Shows the buildings. Negative given guests. Not too bad on that. Okay. What do we need to do now? We need to increase terrain welfare. Paint some snow in here. Make that a little bit smaller. See how the terrains are going.
Now then,
There we are.
all of that should give you a pretty good understanding of how to make animals happy. So I'd like you to go and check on all the other animals in the zoo and fix up any issues with their habitats. That'll increase the average welfare of the animals across the whole zoo. And that average welfare is a very important statistic.
We don't want sad
Now,
happy.
to quickly see how all your animals are doing in the zoo, you should go into zoo management and then into the animals section.
Open zoo management. Let's look at all our animals.
As you can see, this list shows you the animal's overall welfare. So if something's amiss, then you can quickly pop over to them using the locate button. Right, I'm off for a cuppa while you make sure all the animals are well looked after.
Okay, we'll start with the lemurs since they're running out. Well, here, we don't know ring-tailed lemurs. Believe it or not, they live in matriarchal societies, so it's the females that rule the roost. Okay, what do you need now? You need some food enrichment. That won't be easy to... That'll be easy to give you. There's a forage, there we go, forage box. Yeah, I think we need a small forage box too. And then we have... Unbox all animals. Should all be happy in here. We need to put some more soil in here. They like their soil, don't they? I don't know where else is there. There we are. They're all happy now. Nutrition, yeah, they're good. Okay, then now let's go to our grizzly bears while we're here. See, they're sleeping in there. You can see the difference in coloration. So the female here is a little bit lighter, and the male here, Zachary's, quite dark. That's quite cool. But I do think we need some sort of like physical variation, like elephant tusks or antelope horns, for example. We'll see. Oh, let's stop now. Remember, this is a beta, so not everything's running at 100. So see what you need. This is some toy enrichment. What do you bears like? And here's the cool thing, these tabs. So you can check in what species we want. We want grizzly bears, so we can see what toys they like. Why have you got low welfare? Habitat. You're hungry, might need to grab another bowl for the peafowl. So you can do Indian peafowl, some enrichment, a large food bowl. Let's look at the habitat. We need to fix up the terrain in this habitat. They like a little bit more soil. A little bit less grass. Oh yeah. And then we need more plant coverage. I think we'll just leave it as it is. They're all quite happy now. We'll give them some food enrichment. They like slow feeders. Get them slow feeder. There you are. 93%. So they're all quite happy now. Now we'll have a look at our tortoises. Now, they're all pretty happy, they just need a hard shelter. So we're going to have to fit that in here somehow. Habitat, shelters. I think this one would be nice in there. One cool thing is about these tortoises is that giant tortoises appear so often on islands just because they don't require much food and they're really hardy. Like they found, I think it's either Aldabra or Galapagos, with barnacles on it out in the middle of the ocean. That just shows you how hardy they are. So that's why they really do well on islands versus other large mammals. Okay, now, where is the rest? We'll check on the warthogs. What's in here? Where are they? They might have... Did they die? I hope they didn't die. They're hiding. There they are. Having a sleep. Oh, they're quite cute, aren't they? They like to hoggle your attention. Haha, puns. They're actually doing pretty well. Just not too much food. Habitat's good. They're generally doing pretty well. Can't complain. I really hope there's a random name Pumbaa, because let's be honest, that's probably the best name for them. Okay, let's see how our ostriches are doing. The thing about ostriches is that they're probably one of the most basal birds, splitting off from other ratites about 120 million years ago, which is pretty in the mid to late Cretaceous. That they're a pretty basal bird. Oh, they're doing extremely well. They just don't have quite a lot of toy enrichment, but that's fine. And very high welfare. Let's see how the tigers are doing now. Tigers are doing very well. And they just don't have quite enough hard shelter, but it's definitely above 80% like they want. They want to bring it overall, so now we'll go to the hippos. The cool thing about hippos is that they're not actually very fat. They have a lot of really thick skin, which has pink sweat that helps protect them from sunburns. So let's see how well you're doing. Social. Need a few more. Let's see what food enrichment we can give hippos. Species. Indian peafowl, hippopotamus. Okay. These. Do you have enough space for another hippo? Because the more animals you have in an enclosure, the bigger it needs to be. I don't think we have enough for a third hippo, but that's pretty good as it is. We'll start, now we'll go to the lions. I think we'll have to fix up their enclosure a bit. These are West African lions. They already gave you a nice fact about them. They're actually not that common in captivity. It's mainly South African lions. Oh, okay, what's the habitat? Then we'll just sort out plants. Terrain is fine. I'm going to give them a little bit more rock and sand. We'll just replace rock with sand.
Not bad. Not bad at all. I think it's fair to say that you've passed the first part of your training with flying colours.
Well, that was pretty easy.
There's still lots more to learn, but we'll have to head to another one of Bernie's zoos for that. If you want to grab your passport, we'll head off, shall we?
Okay, let's see how big you are. Have a look at the elephants now. A swat.
Sounds like you got the whole zoo purring away
Pretty big
nicely.
for a male.
Well, purring, grunting, screaming, booming. All the appropriate noises.
We'll have a good look at
I
my
guess
elephants
I
in the
was
other zoo.
right to hire you, huh? Don't tell her I told you, but Nancy wasn't sure you'd even last the morning. So, we're happy this is working out. And Nancy owes me a Foxy coffee. As strange as it seems, considering we just met, when I look at you, I feel like you're the child I never had. After the one I did have, obviously. But you see, zookeeping's not for my daughter. Don't get me wrong. Emma absolutely loves animals, but she set her sights somewhat higher. Wants to save the entire planet. I'll just settle for saving a couple of species. And maybe having a type of frog named after me.
We'll flatten that out. Well, I think you can turn terrain. Let's see. When we place them, we can turn terrain off. So flatten terrain. So we can add that again. So that flattens terrain. Doesn't really need to. I'll delete that. We'll have a look here so that we can flatten terrain. Flattens way too much terrain, let's be honest. It should be a little more. Just give this enclosure a little bit of a smoothing. Make it all nice and smooth, especially for our elephants. I like it nice and smooth. Oh, they're doing pretty well. Okay, now let's go to the last animal. Wolves. These are timber wolves, subspecies of grey wolf. You could pretty much, they're all pretty much the same. The only other really noteworthy one is probably the red wolf, which is critically endangered. Oh, what are you doing in the box? Oh, you must be injured. Well, let's see what enrichment they need. Welfare. Oh, they did change terrain. We might need to add some snow in there. First we'll add enrichment though. African elephant and two timber wolf. I'm gonna add a dog chew toy. There we are. And I'll change the terrain. I think we need to get some more snow in here. Just click on one. Where is one? There we are. And they're quite beautiful. I really like how they did the fur in this game. Oh, and he shakes himself off. Isn't that cute? This terrain, there we are. We need to put a bit more soil. Where's soil? Oh, that doesn't help much. Let's get some more soil. They like soil. Like a lot of soil. Believe it or not. They look happy as they are. This is beautiful. And we can go in here. All different types of pieces. Grand elephant station, I like that. I'll have a look in here. Let's have a look. Let's see what's hidden in here. So what you do, this is all made for. You can come in here, go out, look at the elephants. Oh, they look beautiful. We'll go see our elephants in my massive mega enclosure soon. And then here we are, hippos. So all the animals are doing okay. I think we just done that. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the zoo enclosure. Let's go back to load zoo. We'll do the first one. We're running out of money in that one, so we'll just go second one. Now we just gotta wait for it to load, wait for it to load. Oh yeah, Goodwin House. I think this is our big bull. Yep. Mandala. And he's pretty incredible. Look at him. So you see the sizing of him? 83%. He's about 3.74 meters at the shoulder. His appeal. He's good size, good age, he's just low fertility. That's fine. He already has quite a few offspring. So look, he has 3. He can't really complain. He's doing well. Well, he doesn't mind about those. They do well. Likes deserts, grasslands, and tropical areas. Hard shelter, yeah. This terrain's quite good. Just need a little bit more soil. Surprising how many animals don't actually like long grass. You'd think a lot of them would, but that's just how it is. So we're just breeding as many elephants as possible. My other ones are quite good too. Here's this one, Dika. She's about 75%. These are all pretty big elephants, bigger than average. This one, she's 66%. She's got low fecundity, but she's pregnant, so it's not too difficult. We've got another one in here. Shanti, she's good. She's another 75%. Along with one of their calves. We'll see. Compare mates. He's only a little baby though. She's only a little baby. She's golden. Shani just has slightly low immunity, but that's alright. We'll have a look in the camera. Isn't she cute? The animals in this game just look incredible, and they walk realistically. A lot of it's procedural animation, which means it changes as it happens. Like as they walk, they'll... Oh, that's pooping now, but as they walk, they'll have an ear twitch. think it's quite good. Let's see. So we just went through the tutorial mission. That didn't take long. Just gives you a quick grasp of the game. Aren't you beautiful? This did a really good job on the animals. She is. Little baby with her. Now he's running off too. Got 3 babies in here. Let's make some cinematic views of our elephants. Not a very flattering view. Probably the best view. Nice close look. And look, they realistically move across the terrain. This is an 11-acre paddock for them. It's quite a lot of space. Can't really complain. I think we'll move it to a big male over here. You can kind of see him from a mile away, look. Isn't that quite funny? And he's quite beautiful. Look into his eyes. I'm thinking making him a mascot for the channel. I think that'll be pretty cool. I didn't want this to be a long stream, I just wanted to show off what I've been doing in the beta. Now this enclosure I made here, I put on the workshop, so if you want it, just look for elephant mega enclosure, and you should be able to find it. I do like the idea of sharing enclosures and buildings and stuff so other people can use them. Especially if you have quite a good enclosure. Oh, and you're pooping too. For the elephants over here. And they do utilize all the space. It's not like they just hang out in one corner. They'll utilize all the space they can. And there's a little baby playing in the mud. Getting all nice and having a sit. Run, 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 run. Surprising how big they are. Maybe I'm gonna say hi to Mum. I think their size does increase as they go from young to old. size does, but I don't think the model changes until they get adult and then they start morphing into the adult size. Run, 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 run. Quite a cute little baby. What's the name of this one? There's a little male. Let's see how big he'll get. He'll be similar to his dad. Now there's a couple coming, they might be 85% full size. So a little bit bigger than him. 3.8 meters tall. Which is pretty big for an elephant. I think the record for a male is about 4 meters tall. These are the largest land animals. Expect them to be big. And they really do enjoy this big enclosure that I made for them. And here I made a little underwater. I haven't seen them use it much. But they can come and swim if they want to. Well, we can do that. We can box them. And then move in their enclosure. Make them move here. Watch this. See if this works. Should be able to move them in the individual enclosure. Destination not accessed. Move. Let's just not worry about it then. We'll talk about the realism of this game. It is pretty realistic. There are some things that you have to make concessions for gameplay, but that's just how it is. Like, in real life you wouldn't have keepers coming and walking in the enclosures. Or even veterinarians. Well, that's a little bug there, but that's fine. Because obviously, dangerous 6-ton elephant, you don't want to go into its enclosure. But it'd be a bit of a pain to have to manage putting animals in different enclosures for keepers to get in. It's just another management thing we don't even need. Same with usually in zoos with elephants. I'll just use the elephants as an example since we got them right here. Male elephants are usually held separately, just because they can be in the wild. They live in bachelor herds and they can be aggressive towards females. But in this game, obviously without the animal gates, you want to keep it as you don't have to worry about having to put them in the right enclosures for them to breed. I think he's in here. So, see, look how far he was. He was just over here, and now he's just walked all the way over here, going to enclosure, have a nice sleep. He really did. They really do enjoy the space that we give them. So that's cool. And now he's sleeping. When elephants sleep on the side like that, that means they're comfortable. So he must love his habitat. Then again, if I was an elephant living in this kind of habitat, I wouldn't be complaining, considering what most zoos have. And that's a little building. One-way glass that you can come look through. I might actually need to act the path to that. Now here's one of my few complaints with the game. Pathing system's a little bit meh. But no, it's... But aligning to path is quite easy. So now, as we align to path, we can come and stand watch here and look at the animals. He's having his walkout. And the cable. It's electrified fence. You can have different kinds. A lot of these elephants would probably easily break through. So you really want to make sure they're strong enough. I think in the Zoopedia you'll have gate recommendations. Have a look in the Zoopedia. African elephant. Records. We're not going to get that much. See what's a research roll. We'll do some research while we're at it. Research them. Let's do some more research while we're at it. I haven't got much else to do. Hippos. We don't have any ostriches at the moment, I'm not going to bother. All this nice stuff for our nice African elephants. Choo-choo-choo-choo. Where did my male go? He's already off walking. Being majestic, as elephants do. Here's the female. Shanti. Oh, here he is. He's playing with the ball. I don't think he wants to break out. I really like this green enclosure. I like the other maps. The other maps look cool, but like, I like the green feel of this one. Reminds me of my homeland. Rolling hills of nice green lush grass. Good for grazing cattle. Good for grazing elephants too. And you're having a sit down. Quite like that. Oh, he's having another sleep. Well then again, he's a zoo elephant. What else has he got to do? Put that in. My friend wants to come in. I'll just put it. There we are. Sitting there chilling. There's the other females here. Let's see if we can find another good female. Like the animal trading. No, I want to get like a nice quality male. You're pretty small. How about you? No. I need top premium females for my animals. Send me year 29. What year are we in now? Chicken graph. Oh, we don't care about it. We just want to see our animals. Flipping all day. Let's see what other animals we can research. What's the different diseases you can get? Avian influenza. A lot of these will affect different species and you just got to research them. Crocodile pox. Called a croc pox. I do like the research. I haven't really bothered much with it just because it's franchise. He's a big male. God, he looks so majestic. All the animals in this game are just incredible. Just elephants really take the cake as the most majestic of them all. Just can't really complain with this big mega habitat. Can't find accessible research. We might add another one. Facilities. Staff facilities. Quarantine. We need. Who cares about the guests? It's the animals we care about. Plus, this is only a beta. It's going into the shelter. I still really appreciate them using all the space. Like, if you made a big enclosure like this in Zoo Tycoon, they would only use half of it because it's only away from the bowls. There's another one hiding there. Cool, she's pooping. This area is doing too sort of 95% off. Yes, for some reason there's a bug that they prefer food enrichment, which doesn't give as good food as normal food. Troughs and stuff, so there's an adult. She's all nice and covered in dirt. I think she loves that. And now it's pooping. Poops so much. There's a little baby. He's having a poop too. She is, actually. They're all pretty well genetics. All running around. He's coming out, saying hi to everyone. This would really be the prize of any zoo, big male like this. If anyone wants to join, that's fine talking about myself. It's my YouTube channel after all, and my Twitch stream. He do be big. He's a big lad, isn't he? Where is he? There he is. It's quite majestic. So this is his size. He's 83% of the world record. 3.74 meters at the shoulder. And he's sired 3 babies. He's got into some fights because I had another male in here. Of course he won because he was the bigger one. And it's a social population. Here's the thing, that little babies, these little babies here, don't count towards the population. It's usually only adults that count towards population. So I don't know what the maximum is. I feel like if it's 4, might have to check in there. See if I can get max population elephants. I can't complain with that. 3 to 15. 15 females would be awesome. I'll have a big herd. I'd have 16 in an enclosure, you'd have 15 females and 1 male. No, I had to sell them. I used them for conservation points, so I can get more females. He was a pretty good male too. He was about, well, how big are you now? He was 75%. He was a little smaller. Look for a really good quality female. A lot of them are just basic bitches. Use Zoopedia and have a look at all the different animals. Boom, boom. All different species you can have. See how many you like. Up to 2. 1 to 11. 3 to 30. To 44. Huh. I think that might be a typing error. Because it says group size 2 to 6. 15. 1 to 3. Yeah, these guys have a slightly bigger herds. I do have a couple other species. I have a hippo and a tiger enclosure. I've got hippos here. Oh, these must have grown up. Where's my big one? Is this my big male? Yeah, look, he's 91%. He's a big lad. Look at him. Let's see about you, you're another male. Please not be all males. Oh, this is a bit of a male fest. Let's see. I might traded him for a female. Release of the wild. Release of the wild. We'll get ourselves a nice hippo female for him. Nah, how about you? No, you're okay. Ooh, you're quite a big woman. We'll give you for him. We'll have a mega hippo. Yeah, I don't think the bachelor group mechanic actually really works. Because males will fight each other and you have to sort out injuries. Though I think if it's ironed out for the final game, that would be pretty cool to have like a bachelor herd. You'll have male herds and female herds. Look at this tiger. Isn't she incredible? And another generation of babies. This is the second generation we've had at the zoo. It's quite cute. This is just my play around zoo. I've been experimenting with a lot of building. Like I had some levers in here, but they keep having to be bottled in. Here is might have to get some more levers, that could be quite cool. So we have our tigers here. Experimenting with building, I made a bathroom. Uh-oh, stinky! For some reason the bathroom won't fit back in, they can't reach it. But I think that's pretty nice for a building. I think I've figured out building now. Do hope they make some more variety in shelters. And here we have new hippo. Sent to zoo. Be with him. Our big boy here. Create a mega baby, because he's 91 and then she's 92% female size. If we gotta put them together and get a nice big male, we could get like a record breaker. That'd be pretty cool. Here's 75. A lot of babies are like 85%. Some big males coming around. There he is. See if we get ourselves a nice female elephant. Usually the more expensive animals you buy with conservation points. How are you? No, you're a bit small. Like a good hippo can cost like $4 million. It's realistic. Person. The other thing is that you don't really feel constrained for space like in JWE. The maps are very similar size, but the animals being a lot smaller, requiring less space, you can really explore. Maybe. Do you want me to? It's just that when you add species, sometimes the terrain doesn't mix up well. Oh, you're looking ill. All of it. It's a bit sad. There's a big male in there. Let's compare his mates. Size, gene potential. We get a pretty big boy slash girl out of him. We'll see. We'll get a cheap warthog. They're not very expensive. Why can't I adopt you? Oh, it's because we're losing money. Oh no. Contracted roles. There's the exhibit animals, these are cool. Pablo the bird-eating spider. Look at him. Isn't he spooky? He's spooky little boy. Ooh. Likes hanging out. Look at that. Look at that wee baby. I do wish the terrariums did have a bit more individual variation. But that's how it is. Still better than the Xbox Zoo Tycoon. I think the only thing this hasn't beaten, the only thing the Xbox game has beaten in this is camera mode. You can walk around in your zoo, and the species number, even though a lot of them are just repeats of each other. Do I really want a northeastern African lion? Or something like that? We don't need 3 different, we don't need 8 different lions. maybe 2. There's Dika. At least these elephants don't breed ridiculously fast. So I think we're safe. Okay, let's get another elephant in the trading since we don't have any money. No, I don't want you. No, we won't adopt any males. We don't need any males. Yeah, we're running a little bit low on money. Might sell one of my tigers. How well are you doing? Yeah, like if I put a lion and a grizzly bear in together, they'd probably fight. Some species you do get a bonus with having with other animals, like elephants for example, you can give an interspecies bonus. You can fit them with certain animals. So like if I put African elephants and sable antelope, it's interspecies bonus, it just is more enriching for them. Plus it's just more fun to watch. There is an incentive for... But you can have 100 welfare without interspecies. So you're not forced anyway. It's just a bonus. Is this my mail? I think it is. Yeah. He really is incredible. These have to be the best animals in video games. Let's just fill the train. Insufficient funds. Look at him walk down the terrain. Sitting in the sprinkler, just loving life. Oh no, that'll be fucking incredible with their huge tusks. Though they don't get much bigger than African elephants. They're probably about the same size. Just imagine a Paleoloxodon Mendes. Big bull. 5 meters at the shoulder. Whew. That would be a unit. An absolute unit. Yeah. get similar sized Africans too. They get a little bit bigger than Asian elephants. It depends on the Siberian or European morph. Siberian morph's usually a bit smaller than the European. He's walking into a shelter, look at that. Well, the guests can view him. Nice and close to a giant like that. I remember in the first version of the enclosure I did on another zoo, I put a elevated path around here so they can come up and look and see all the animals. I might actually redo that here if I had the money, but I don't. I have to sell something. I could sell these since I'm not using them. Would cost money. I don't want it. If it costs money, I won't bother. I know, it's cute. Look, he's sleeping. We need a first person mode. Like, for real, for real. He's so cool. He's having a sleep.
Woo, yeah!
I got 3 calves in here. He's been a busy boy. I might actually have more than that. 1, 2, 4. We have 4. Might have been a couple from that other male. Check how many elephants we have. We have other animals we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9 elephants. I know. He's just appreciating how many kids he's had. Look at this lad. Don't step on your baby. What a lad. Only true dads don't step on their children. I actually have not seen many animals clipping into each other. I've seen it once, but that's good. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're clipping. It's like, that's not really an issue. Oh, look, he run too. Oh, shit. He run. He run. Imagine that charging at you. There he is next to a person. Take a screenshot of that. He's so gigantic. Look at that. That is actually incredible. I think it will be. Plus, I don't think there needs to be incredible herding AI just because in zoos they don't move around in herds like they would in the wild. Usually they just go off and graze. They'll stick together, but they don't need to herd complexly. If it was a Planet Safari, which I think would be a cool game idea, I would expect herding to become more of a thing. Are we running again? I do think that the animals are just incredible. I don't really think they need much improvement. Really just bug fixes and some pacing and building improvements would make this game easily a 10. Just needs to be streamlined a bit. He's playing in the sprinkler. It's cute. I would really like to, if we had like a 100% male, we could have like one of those really big tuskers. That would be really cool. We could breed one of them. Because I don't think there's many of them in captivity, actually. If there is one. There's a few big male, Asian male tuskers. Not many African. Just because they're so hard to keep. And like they move to the terrain. We'll have a look at our tigers now. Our Cougars. Where are our Cougars? Oh, there's P. There's a cute cub. I really like the fur shader. They did a really good job. And I know it's not meant, it's a little bit stylized, but I can forgive that. I like the stylization. Because I think if they went too hyper real, it looked dated in like 2 years. Yeah. Do you already want to deal with a 10-ton elephant running around all angry? I think that's just a zoo would probably not want that responsibility. Unless the... Plus you need new facilities, you'll have to have like a bull paddock, and you need keepers that are able to deal with them. I'd assume some would. You need to have males to breed, but again, having a big male is a big ticket seller. You can sell, you can have a big bull elephant. Oh, he's pooping again. We'll have a look at our hippos. I don't know if they've bred. I don't think they have quite yet. And the cool thing about the hippos is they actually walk on the water, look. You must be stuck there for some reason. But that's quite cute. Look at that boy. He goes swim. I don't know if they've bred yet. We'll have to see. You're not pregnant. Yeah. I think there's only like 2 or 3 zoos that actually have more than one. I know the zoo's low on cash. Though I think a lot of people forget that males can actually be quite social. Not as much as females, but I think people just forget that. And this is all for viewing. Can't be bothered putting in a... I might actually... I don't have the money for it. There's another female. She's been covering herself. Let's see what other... See if we can get ourselves a nice female elephant. She's alright. She's got not quite very big, but she's got pretty good general stats. Only the prime females for my big bachelor. Yeah. Gorillas are probably a bit easier. I'm surprised we didn't get any of the apes in this version. Like the big gorilla. Or the orangutan. Probably just because they're not quite ready. That's alright. They look incredible. And the climbing frames are really cool. You can build them yourself. Where is he? There he is. See how big he is next to a female. That's a true Chad right there. Yeah. I think it's more that bachelor groups are just... You'd want to keep them in different enclosures. Oh, look at this little baby cougar. He run. I think if we had animal gates, then bachelor herds could probably be a thing. So you can like let males in to breed. Or let animals in different enclosures. I think that'd be quite fun. Because not a lot of zoos do rotation enclosures. Have a look at our cougars. It's actually quite a nice habitat. Run, run, run. Run, run, run. Little chubby little cub. Will it? I haven't heard anything about animal gates. In this game you have to have a habitat gate. Here it is, mine right here. Each habitat gate. You need one for each enclosure. Oh, we're starting to make back a bit of money. Oh. Not anymore. Why have you got low welfare? Oh, you're stuck in a rock, that's why. Well, that would be pretty cool. Do you have a screenshot? So you can go in the water. Because the animals like swimming. Is that Mandela? Yeah, that's him. I think we might need a second shelter if we get the money. Damn. But a bachelor herds could definitely be a thing if they had animal gates. And then rotation enclosures could be a thing. It wouldn't be too hard to do if you think about it in the system that's already in this game. it's just that you would have to kind of average out the enclosures to match the welfare of all the animals that you're mixing together. That isn't too hard, you just need to make sure that they're at least at a green level. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. You definitely are a high quality male, especially for your size. You just have low fertility, but what else have you got to do? You can just fuck as much as you want. And now hippos. See what's happening with the hippos. You got pretty nice welfare. They actually spread their poo around. It's 4.81 meters long. It's a pretty big boy. See how big his girl is. Let's go. 3.97. They're both pretty big. Just want them to breed. Should do eventually. We could get 100 hippo. 100 hippo. Look at him just walking through his forest. Such an impressive animal. And there we have... I can hear you. When are you growing up? You're high quality. Run, run, run. I think the animal breeding needs to be toned back for the final game. Because if you had a zoo with heaps of animals, it would just be hard to manage. And it runs pretty well too, so... It's before a beta does. It's 40 frames for me. It's not my mates. Shandai. I don't have two names Shandi. Oh, Shandi and Shanda. Must be twins. Twinsies. I think this is probably the best mode to play in. We'll just play this campaign. I really could not be bothered playing anything else. Because franchise is a mess. Ooh, you're another big male with high fecundity too. Just low immunity. You're not quite. You got the same size. You're not quite as good as my other male. I'd just rather have females to breed into. You're a bit smaller. I need to sell something. What should I sell? Let them fight. Do you want me to make these elephants kill each other? How much are you? You're not actually expensive. You're a good size. Well, let's adopt them. Show you how the animal fighting is like. Just want to get more females. Well, they don't kill each other. What happens is they'll have a fight and then you need to... Oh, they're injured. Need to go to... They also get permanent scars. Quite actually proud of that, mate. It's not quite perfect, but that's fine. Here he is. We've got two big males now. It's Clash of the Titans. Actually, having him breed would actually bring a pretty good amount of genetic diversity. It's very similar to JWE, how it fights, but it's usually... Oh, it's starting to square up. How big is he? Slightly bigger. He's been instigated as the fighter. So he got injured. And he's injured too. I might actually get rid of our old male for his new one. he's quite good stats. Plus he's not related to any of the other elephants, so that helps with breeding. Fighting isn't incredibly intrusive. It's fine as it is. Let's see how many. Heidi's a big male. Mandola's our other one. Set to train center. I think we'll. We could trade them for money. Might be a good idea actually. Oh, game crashed. I think this is a game telling us that we should be finished. The biggest female is... she was about 75, so I think she's about 3 point something. Oh yeah, I think we're done for today. But we got a nice screenshot. Look how big this boy is. What a unit. I think I'm done for today. Okay, see you later, guys.